My name is Diane Eger, Eger. I always have to spell it out. It's an Austrian name and it's always spelled wrong. Diane Eger.
And Robert Eaton. And we both moved from the Midwest. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a very artsy place, particularly in music.
We started them in 1987 when we moved to Santa Fe. And we've been now 32 years in New Mexico, mainly where we work our business. So I started as a jeweler. I was always a craft person. First, I started doing beaded earrings. Oh, that was a big thing. Then I changed to weaving, and I lived up in Rollinsville, Colorado, in a tiny little town. And I was weaving and adding beads and things to the fringe on my woven shawls. And of course, I was trying to make weaving, and I couldn't sell them. So I would spend a week, and I couldn't sell them in the Boulder Co-op. So I switched to jewelry. And my husband, at that time, not my husband, my boyfriend, was a jeweler. And so he showed me how to make two little gold rings, and they sold right away. And I switched and became a metalsmith. So Bob himself was a machinist before, and then he became a metalsmith. And we met up in the mountain town of Nederland, Colorado, and then we moved here. I really want to support all individual handcrafted work because when we started, it was the beginning of the real crafts movement in this country. And people were all learning and making it in their own home studios. But a whole wave of imports started coming in, and people were just buying ready-made bezels and charms or whatever and adding them to a necklace. And it became difficult for jewelers, craftspeople, to compete in the market with all the influx of all this manufactured jewelry from Asia, from everywhere. And we saw when we started our business, almost every single town had a crafts gallery. And that was for local craftspeople to show their work. Now, if you look around, there are hardly any crafts galleries for local people to show the work that they do individually at home. So I really want to support all the people who make it with their own hands in their own studio at home. And I'm thankful to Millicent Rogers Museum for supporting us and having this show for us at a time during the pandemic when it's so difficult because craft fairs have been canceled, galleries are going out of business. At one time, Bob and I, Eaton Eger Goldsmiths, were in 22 galleries over the whole country, not just the Southwest, including like Pennsylvania and all in the Southwest, and just so many everywhere. And gradually they started going out of business. This was long before the pandemic. Craft galleries were going out of business. Business was low because they were competing with so many imported things. So anyway, that's my story from what I've been doing. I've always been a craft person. Bob and I went to Vienna a couple of times. My cousins, my relatives live in Austria. My dad's from Austria. So we were in Vienna and we were just blown away by Art Nouveau, and they call it Jugendstil there, and by the Art Deco and the Bauhaus and their whole philosophy of art as craft and craft as art. And so we were so influenced and by this particular art.
Yeah, I really loved it. Actually, Rococo and is more is more. So I did more is more jewelry for a while, and it was nice. People liked it, and that was our influence. Plus, the museums there are incredible. So we saw lots and lots of jewelry and art and things like that. So we came back inspired.
And your spirals and everything on your ring is like so Art Nouveau kind of looking. We call our style modern romantic because it combines a lot of things, and it's more unique than a lot of things are, and it's unique in its influence of Art Nouveau and things like that.
And I worked as a jeweler to the trade in Boulder, Colorado, which means people would, I did simple things, sizing rings and things like that and repairs. But then things there were mostly cast and very traditional cast things. So when we moved to Santa Fe, I realized that color and style and things like that were just whatever you wanted, anything goes. And then we started a jewelry business when we moved, and there were so many craft galleries, particularly in Santa Fe, that we did very well. And things went, things went down and down and down for crafts. And then we moved to Taos, and it was very inspiring because in Taos, everybody's an artist.
Yeah.
So that was our influences, or mine at least, and Diane's too.
Well, the thing about New Mexico is when we moved here, Colorado was very traditional. It was like a stone and a really nice silver setting or gold setting. And when we moved to New Mexico, we got inspired and we could use all different kind of colored stones and assort the stones and do pinks and greens and purples. And it was really very inspiring to us. And we still are inspired by stones. We put stones together, and then that inspires us really to make the jewelry.
We love stones and color.
Yeah. I really want to continue supporting handcrafted studio made art of any kind, whether it's pottery or paintings or jewelry. It's so important that we support the handcrafted people. And also we need to educate people, because I find that some people at a craft fair would say, well, how long did it take you to make this? Thinking I could say 2 or 3 hours. And I used to say 25 years, because it took me a long time to figure this stuff out. And so I think if we educate people, not just what's the cheapest and is it silver or not, but how the craft person really had to do it and make it. I mean, it's a whole process.
And there's a little bit more too about Millicent Rogers. Millicent Rogers Museum is handcrafted things. Millicent Rogers herself moved here, loved it, and supported handcrafted art and jewelry and everything, and actually would buy stones and give them to people and say, make anything.
Yeah.
And it's very clear when you go through the Millicent Rogers Museum that that's what she did. So here's a perfect example of supporting the arts by somebody that really loves these type of things.
We have a collection of Diane's rings here, turquoise, and this is a really fun piece. And you can see these are all one of a kind. So if you're interested in these, I encourage you get online and purchase them, because they will go quickly. This is fun. It's a mixed metal in the center, surrounded by silver. And if you're a fidgeter, this turns. It's a little spinner. It's just a lovely piece.